Welcome to April's Garage, and we are getting ready to say goodbye to 2024. It's been a great year. Now, I've been covering Barrett-Jackson for about 10 years, and this year was,
I'm only 4. She's got tenure.
You're 4. Has it been 4 years?
4 years, 2020, yeah.
Wow. And when you started, you were kind of like in the field, and now the all-important spot on the block.
Yes.
You'll see, Tyler.
So I had this idea of picking our favorite 10 or 5 of us a piece from the entire year, which is pretty impossible to do. It's like
so hard.
Like showering with you is almost impossible because I can never like shower. Like I just get we got that new big shower with 2 shower heads and all that stuff where you can shower together. Anyway, now
it's a party shower.
Sorry, I got off track. But
yes.
Yeah, so what?
Are you going first with your?
No, you go ahead and go first. I'm
really?
Sorry. I'm so sorry. That's just top of mind, apparently.
Well, I feel like this goes without saying.
Yeah, you should get it out of the way. There's only one that sold, I think, for the whole year, right? Maybe there's 2?
There might have been 2, but there was one that I'm looking at that I was obsessed with. This GNX had literally 282 actual miles.
Yes.
One owner, parked pretty much when it was bought new. It's gorgeous, gleaming.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Survivor, Grand Nationals, GNXs.
Right.
The last Grand National was something that we sold. And they all usually have a little bit of like fading with time. You know, the bumperettes get cracked up.
Well, there's a lot of plastic on them.
Stuff that just doesn't age very well that needs to be replaced with time. This one did. It still looked fresh. Like,
it's gorgeous.
Unbelievable price too, $231,000.
Did it really go for that much?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't remember?
Well, because when you talk about GNXs, you're like, oh, they're like 120, 130.
This one had 280 miles on it.
Right.
So, yeah.
So this was the pristine example.
The
nicest one on the planet. Nicer than new probably when it rolled through.
Right. That was a good one. The one that was fun for me was the yellow Porsche Carrera GT.
Well, it's cool because they're usually in silver.
Yes,
so it's fun when you get
all in silver. But this is the last analog supercar, V10 in the back, 6-speed manual. Just a stunning machine, and they normally sell for over $1 million. But this one, because of the color and the miles, like a little over 3,000 miles, it sold for $1,870,000. So we're knocking on the door $2 million on a Porsche Carrera GT. But it's really hard to pick the Scottsdale cars because we had the 300 SL Gull Wing that shattered a record, I think, for a normal non-alloy Gull Wing for $3.5 million.
Right.
We had Trump's Diablo VT Roadster in blue. This brought $1 million, which was
Well, it was wild because the crowd just kind of like went upon the block and almost like shoved it over, I feel like.
Right.
There's a lot of excitement with that car.
Absolutely. So what was your second pick from?
My second, well, I had a question about the Carrera GT.
Yeah.
Do you think people should get a special license to drive supercars? Because I feel like I just saw in Australia where you have to take like a driver's test to then operate these crazy machines, and the Carrera GT is obviously an advanced machine.
I don't think on a Porsche Carrera GT because that's already a analog manual. That will block a lot of idiots from buying that to try and drive it too because it's a manual transmitted car. Although it is known to be pretty dangerous. With new tires on it, helps a lot. That's why Porsche, when they did the recall, they put new tires on everything. But yeah, the modern like Lamborghinis and McLarens and all the stuff that just pretty much drives itself. The Veyron's one of those cars where really anybody could drive it, and you have that much power and speed and all that stuff. Wouldn't be a bad idea. Yeah, most certainly. Anyway, what was next on your list?
So, Jeff Hayes. Absolutely brilliant car customizer, restorer, known for his Corvettes. I feel like he's set the bar to where everyone else is trying to reach when you're restoring the C1, C2 Corvettes. Because this one he did, 67, the last year for the C2, is stunning.
Well, he set a new bar for price too, because we thought $600,000-$700,000 was crazy in previous years when he started bringing Corvettes. This is the first one to cross $1 million, $1.1 million with fees. Which, holy moly. But then when you look at it in person up close, I mean, it is literally art. And not really a choice that you would think would work for a C2 Corvette, doing sort of a champagne, sort of a subdued color, not like Nassau blue or some bright, sports car color. But man, was this thing classy.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Almost looks like a boat, like an old kind of classic boat in the inside with all the gauges gleaming there and that wood-rimmed steering wheel. You got the radio stacked up vertically and the wheels. Custom, they look like knockoffs, obviously, but they're just enhanced. Everything's enhanced, better than new. Gorgeous. I love the reimagination of the gills on the side. The interior, just off the charts. You wouldn't want to sit in it though, because it's like pristine white, like your grandma's living room furniture. I just want to cover it with plastic and just look at it, never ruin it.
But the thing about these, they're not like the show cars of 10, 20, 30 years ago where they just make the show circuit and they barely move from spot to spot. You know, these are actual usable vehicles on top of that, where it's the best of both. So you could actually use this and enjoy it. But yeah, that was a pretty crazy 24 Scottsdale.
Beautiful. So what caught your eye?
This was tough because I talked about Trump's Diablo, because I love Diablos. That was just a crazy sale, crazy moment. And then the Gullwing being a new record. But the thing that really struck me, and I was able to get up close and personal and do a hit out in the field with it, was that Mercedes 540K.
Oh, this was brilliant.
Yes. So supercharged, straight 8, just stunning, stunning body. And yeah, that old school pre-war Mercedes, and I got to go and like pull up the bonnet, and everybody was so freaked out that I was doing it for the camera and like putting little microfiber cloths everywhere, and I was the only guy brave enough to do it. And obviously, if I drop this hood and scratch it, then I'm fired. But like I had to take this opportunity just to look inside of this engine and see it and do sort of a breakdown of how it all worked, because just seeing that big blower on the front. So cool. So cool.
Like when I talk about cars, I try not to touch them too much, because I feel like guys get a little more anxious if like a female might be close to their car because they're going to scratch it or something. So I'm always like, I don't know, I don't want to piss a consignor off by touching their car.
Right. Well, they do want to promote it though. And me, in the staging lanes, just like pouring over it, drooling over it, doing a hit on it. It's a sales tool. Definitely for people who are consigning the cars too. So they want to be in the TV time for the TV coverage, especially on the History Channel. Sure. So we are helping them, I suppose. But yeah, this one didn't need much help from us, really. It sold for $2.5 million.
Wow.
Big money.
And I'm guessing that's not the original color.
It could have been.
It doesn't really matter when you're restoring cars like this from this era.
So then we move on to Palm Beach, and I love Palm Beach because it's just a smattering of Florida crazy man stuff, And I assume yours, yeah, of course, yes. You're Florida.
Yes, the Joe Dirt car, the actual Joe Dirt car.
Yes.
We got a Superbird, well, kind of a remake of a Superbird here, but like this is the quintessential Joe Dirt car. And I love what happened, because the guy that actually, I want to say won, the guy that was the winning bidder, had a huge, I think it said like Mr. Dierte tattoo of Joe Dirt on his ribcage. This is like a grown man. I want to say he's like in his late 50s.
Yeah, it was an older tattoo, probably.
A huge, on his entire ribcage.
The movie is a cult classic, and we did a video on it when we were at Palm Beach and walked around and showed the car and all that stuff. But we did not expect the money.
It was going through on the right day between some really big cars.
But it's not a real Daytona, which if it was a real Daytona, it would have sold for this much money. It started off as a Charger, and then they put the nose coat on it. They put a fake wing. It's not reinforced the frame. And it was actually a nice car that they faux-tinaed and all that stuff.
Well, you could see it started as plum crazy, and the engine bay you could see is painted, and they kind of potinaed it up.
$330,000. So a dumb David Spade movie. I mean, but it's fun. It's a fun.
Really?
It is really
David
stupid,
Spade's like
funny entertainment.
Biggest comedic actor out of that generation.
But it's not like it was a sweeping Academy Award, like massive box office movie. It had a cult following later in the years and years. It kind of became this cultural sort of thing. I mean, kind of like Napoleon Dynamite, like those stupid comedies,
Yeah.
So $330,000. There were multiple bidders really wanting that thing.
So cool.
Pretty amazing. So my pick.
Yes.
Is what I think was the best buy of the auction of Palm Beach, and maybe like I'm thinking the whole year where I'm kicking myself, or I'm wishing I didn't spend all this money on the stupid home renovation, so I could have bought this. I was so mad. And it was the 66 Aston Martin DB6.
Ooh,
and it was beautiful. It's an older restoration, but it looks a lot like the James Bond DB5. But the 6 is bigger, has a back seat, it's a little more usable, but has all the look, all the great drivetrain, all that. It's just amazing. It sold for $238,000, which was so well bought, so amazing. I mean, that's the thing about auctions. You never know what's going to run away and go crazy, and then a few deals will squeak in there. So it's just, that's the cool part of a no reserve auction, is you see stuff like this go for less than what you'd think. And man, I would have traded a lot of hoopties to be able to buy that.
So if you had like a better line of credit at that moment,
yeah,
you would have gone in?
You hadn't quite sold your house yet, you know, like loan me for the Bugatti money, you know, so
right.
if you had, you might have been stroking a check for me to buy a test. I don't know. I thought it was a great deal. I mean, it was an older restoration, but I like that as something I could drive and enjoy. Seemed like it was all gone through mechanically and all that stuff, though. So,
that's beautiful car.
Very, very, very nice. So, we're halfway through, and then we didn't have 4 auctions this year. We only had 3, so there was the Fall Scottsdale, which that was actually my first auction, I think, at Barrett-Jackson, was doing a Scottsdale at a weird time during COVID with the masks and all that stuff. So it was unusual for everybody except for me because I've been there, done that.
Tell your story with the mask?
Oh, well, yeah. My first time doing Barrett-Jackson, I was wearing a mask, and I went to take a deep breath to talk on camera and sucked the mask in, couldn't breathe. So my first moment on Barrett-Jackson was and that was the first noise. And then there was another one where I froze, and I froze for probably a good 5 seconds, but it felt like an eternity. And I was just right in the middle of the car. This is beautiful. Let's go to the back fender. Let's go under the hood. And under the hood is
yeah.
And then let's go to the inside. So they assumed it was a problem with the microphone because I couldn't see my lips move and all that stuff. But it was me just totally blanking out. But they were like taking apart my microphone, trying to fix it. Like, okay, let's see, why did it drop out like that? That's really weird. But no, it was my brain dropping out my first time doing Barrett-Jackson. So
the positives with the masks that helped you out.
Right.
And you were just started.
You had a favorite.
Right.
I remember that one.
In Fall Scottsdale, the Starliner, which is a 1960 Starliner with that 0506 GT drive, Ford GT drivetrain in it. It's just a really cool. You've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it. Even the toggle switches inside.
It's 5.4-liter supercharged. In the Ford GT, it would have been in the back behind your head. So they had to make it front engine, sort of flip everything around. So it was a different transmission. I believe it was an automatic. But
the transmission out of a Lightning, I think.
Yeah, they were able to get the Ford GT gauges in there, which is a really crazy touch. And then just an insane, high-quality custom build on an unusual platform. The Starliner itself
which you don't see.
Starliner, yeah.
You don't see Starliners being kind of like rusto-modded out in this kind of way. I've never seen anything like it, and it just sticks out to me. Something unusual, something great to look at.
Yeah, it sold for $225,500 for the amount of work that went into it. I mean, it's certainly worth it, if not more. Big result. Probably a record for a Starliner, most certainly, but obviously this one, very different.
Yeah, this one's just a little different, but I think it's a fantastic job. Outside looks completely stock, and then you start it up, and you hear that sound coming out of the exhaust, and you're like, what is that? Well, it's a little something special.
Yeah, well, but how could you not do the LaFerrari?
Well, the LaFerrari is a given with Sammy Hagar. You're pulling it up. Is that one of your favorites?
Of course, yeah. $4,675,000, which is like the second or third most expensive Barrett-Jackson car to sell ever.
Yeah.
So pretty crazy. Out of a Fall Scottsdale, Sammy Hagar was there just rocking the block on top of that. You interviewed him before. The car was supposed to be in the January auction, but it had its hybrid battery fail.
Yeah.
And that was a multi-6-figure replacement, like a very expensive thing to do, but it was all done, serviced up. They pulled the car from that auction to get it all completely 100% ready for the next auction. And then the high bidder kind of looked like Sammy Hagar a little bit.
Right. Well, and I like that Sammy throughout the auction as it's going also offered to fly them right at that moment to Cabo for one of his concerts.
To party
that
with
night,
him and then go to one of his concerts. So you won the car and then you get to fly to Cabo with Sammy and party and then collect your car.
Right.
What an experience. And obviously, rock the block. Unusual spec too with this color that he actually saw when he was touring the Ferrari factory. So he's configuring his LaFerrari 10 years ago and just, head against the wall, like so many choices and all, like it was hard. And he built something and with all the choices, he didn't like it. So he's just like, let me just walk around the Ferrari museum.
Right.
And he saw this color on an old race car, I think from the 50s and 60s, and said, I want that, which is a very unusual one-off spec for the LaFerrari, and came out.
Well, when I first saw the color, it was interesting. You're like, where did that come from? And now that classic old school look makes sense on this car, and I think it's a stunning car, obviously.
Yep.
Another car where you probably need a special license to be able to drive it because you have a lot of power.
Yes. So your second choice of all the wacky and weird Fall Scottsdale cars.
Oh, yes. The C10 Slayer. amazing.
I'm surprised you picked this one.
It
was really
so cool. It's just wild and cool. You got the stack coming out. I mean, like, why do you guys need that? Because it is so cool. And I love the color of the wheels. Makes it really stand out. I mean, obviously, there's so much to look at. It's got a custom carbon fiber wing on it.
Yeah.
All the wheels have power.
Functional rear wheels. It's not like there's just a dead set in the rear. All four of them have power, so it was like a pass-through axle to get to the back ones. And yeah, the drivetrain was nuts. The build, I mean, other than the cab, which probably had some modification to it, everything else was just crazy custom. And the price was pretty impressive, $330,000.
I mean, you're seeing a lot of these, and you'll see them kind of hit and go viral on social, and so it makes sense for this. I think they were saying they're trying to build this into a Hot Wheels for 2025. You know, I think it's going to be in Forza this year, right now it even might be, or starting new next year. And it has its own Instagram. Yeah. It is definitely a Slayer.
Pretty crazy. So, the last car.
Yes.
My last pick, the 10 of our top 10.
Yes.
It was tough, but I had to say
what is it?
William Shatner's Jag. Because Captain Kirk brought his car to Barrett-Jackson.
Right.
I got to interview him, and then he sold his car, and it was a really cool moment for me. Like, it's among my top 10 professional moments of all time.
Probably top 3, I would say.
Top 3.
Yeah.
Interviewing William Shatner.
Right.
And then, seeing his car sell and seeing how excited he was to be a part of the audience and the action, like, because he loves an audience, he loves performing, and why not sell your car, in front of thousands of people in a giant arena and just cheer it on and all that stuff. So it was awesome.
Did his name attached to it raise the value?
Oh yeah, most certainly. I mean, it was a very low mileage FType R, like a 500 plus horsepower V8. So it's the right one. They don't make the F-Type anymore, so that's sort of a thing. But it sold for a little over $60,000.
Right.
So not crazy money for as big of a celebrity he is, but it's not some insane. It's not a Lamborghini. It's not a Ferrari. It's not something exotic at the same time. It's pretty much everywhere you see F-Types, even though they don't make them anymore. And that's still a big celebrity premium and a really, really cool moment.
Right. Now, coming off of that interview, looking back on it, is there anything else you feel like you wished you would have asked him or didn't ask him, or was it perfect?
No, I mean, I wish that when he mentioned that Leonard never picked him up to give him a ride, so I asked a series of questions, like what he was driving to the set of Star Trek back in the day. Right. He didn't remember, but there was a cool picture of Leonard Nimoy with his Buick Riviera that I wanted to mention. But it was so crazy in the moment, and he's like, it's really loud in here, and so I didn't get to clarify that question to sort of round it up. But that's the only thing. I came there on a mission to do Wrath of Khan, Spock's death to William Shatner, and I did it. I perfectly executed it.
You did, and Shatner loved it as well. He was in the moment. He wanted it to be big. He's a big performer. He loves, obviously doing everything off the cuff a lot of times, and just was really into it, improvising, and you guys definitely did it.
Bill, I have been and always shall be your fan. Live long and prosper.
Crazy, man.
Oh, and I know Star Trek just sold to Sundance, so if that audition tape, can flip that up to you guys. Like, I can tap buttons and give commands and things.
So would you forget cars and go full Star Trek?
I'd go do that. Yeah, please hire me. Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully we won't lose you.